So good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight for the O&A meeting. We will be taking some things out of order tonight for time issues. Consistent with the governor's order, suspended certain provisions of the open meeting law and banned certain gatherings such as an in-person meeting of the Ordinance and Administration Standing Committee. It is not possible this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but we may to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time, participate when necessary. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer, a device, there is a hand raise button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options to be recognized to speak. It is without any objections, I'd like to go right through to the parking for Smith Street for Councilor Cox's order to get into the St. Anne School area.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Counselor. Basically, it's the same exact order that we used for West Parish. So nothing has changed from that. It was what was approved by the Traffic Commission and walked through with them back then. So the only thing that has changed with this is the fact that I'm going to use the word very vaguely, calming corner is not so calming, and it's going to test the limits of the bus being able to turn down at the end of Pleasant Street. So whether it's going to be going right on Shepherd or left, we are going to have to restrict some additional parking in the area, but that is unlikely have to go through the council. It's going to be basically the left turn is going to need to be a restriction within an intersection, and the right turn is going to be 10 feet from the curb. So it's neither one of those are likely going to have to come before the council. One of the things that happened when we had West Parish there was we really need to make sure that there is staff involved in the drop off and the pickup, because there were a lot of complaints about that there was no school staff on board during pickup and drop off, and that most of the time it seemed like there were kids still about after most of the staff left. So that again is my only concern, and I know other counselors have heard that complaint as well. So it's gonna be a process to redo all this with new players. So the principal is going to be different, superintendent's going to be different, the transportation manager is going to be different. So that's just, it's going to be a strong learning curve from the school side, not so much from the city side. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor Cox. I will like to say that we do have Sherry Cabrales, Joanne Sinos, Steve LeBlanc, John McCarthy, Councilor Cox, Superintendent Ben Loomis, Chris Saccaranza, Jamie O'Hara, and Jen Holgram on the line. John McCarthy, your co-sponsor of this. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Just following up on what Melissa just said. I worked closely with the last plan, and the biggest problem we had was, and I assume this is going to be the same thing, Ben, is the pickups and drop-offs by parents. We bused to O'Malley last time. However, many of the kids signed up. They just found an address in Gloucester. Their parents found an address in Gloucester that a relative might have had, and they signed them up as walkers. And it wasn't enforced until we had to go down there and really assess what was going on and why we had such a big traffic problem in the area. And it turned out that these kids really weren't walkers. They were signed up as walkers. They weren't taking the bus to O'Malley. I think the principal at the time would leave the school every day at bus time and go to O'Malley, and there were only a handful of kids that were actually taking the bus. So that needs to be looked at right from the get-go this time and enforced. Because I really think you're gonna probably have a lot of pickups from the East Gloucester school side of this. So that was the biggest from, back then I was on the police department, and that was our biggest hassle or hurdle to get over with at the time. So knowing that ahead of time, I'm sure that can be scrutinized ahead of time and made sure that it is enforced.
Thank you, Council McCarthy. Is there any council questions? Council Blank.
Thanks, Sean. So I don't want to, first of all, Melissa and John and Barry, awesome being proactive with this. It's going to be honest before we know it. So I'm glad we got this out sooner than later. I don't want to speak for the superintendent, but my wife's in the school system and she has bus duty. So she's there early in the morning. She's out there in the afternoon, making sure the kids get on the bus and stuff like that. So I'm sure that's citywide at this point, but Superintendent Lummis will be able to answer that. And, I don't want to try to reinvent the wheel, but there are certain streets that we have one way, like they did it over in East Gloucester. Maybe one of you guys know better than me. What's that little side street that goes up? Is that,
Smith Street? I think
Bear Street?
Smith?
Smith, I think Smith.
Yeah.
Smith.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad that we couldn't make Pleasant Street that little one way for those times, because I think it would probably be easier for them to come down and go the opposite way rather than try to make the turn going in. Like I said, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I'm just throwing that out there. But I think this is great. And like I said, thank you, councils, for bringing this forward. It's going to be before us before we know it.
So the only problem with that, Steve, is that when the buses come and they line up, they're going to be lining up on Smith, just like they did before. So everything is smoothly run with the one-way streets that we have right now. And to try to reinvent this, you're going to need to go back to the traffic commission. We're going to have to do test runs, and we're way past the time in which this should have been introduced anyway. So
no, I agree. I just was throwing it
Yeah.
out there. It's just me, my wheels spinning, but it's awesome to be proactive though. Thank you, guys.
and quite frankly, the parking restrictions that we need to have in place because of this corner is going to need to be done in perpetuity, and the neighborhood's just going to have to get on board with this. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that that no one's walked this area and tried to be proactive about putting in signs and everything. So there's that.
Right.
I'm gonna force it one way or the other, and with this introduction, it's just gonna have to happen.
Yeah. And before we do anything else, we do have a quorum, everybody, just so we're on the books for the quorum. That's all I have.
You have any questions?
This is gonna go to Traffic Commission regardless next Thursday, so I will be there for that. But again, we've talked to the chair of the Traffic Commission, and nothing's changed. They're already familiar with it. They do have new members, so I am going to walk them through this as well as much as I can, considering that it might be a budget and finance night as well. So we're not sure because they haven't set the date.
All right, Melissa, if you need somebody to jump in with you, if you need to leave, just ask one of them. I'm sure any one of us will be able to jump in with you.
Well, that's why I asked Councilor McCarthy to join in, because as you can see, the Ward 2 rep is not here either. So, but thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Cox. Councilor Hara, do you have any discussion on this?
No, I thank Councilor Cox and Councilor McCarthy, retired Chief McCarthy, who obviously knows this well, and I appreciate you bringing this forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I did speak with traffic and they're well on board with this. I want to thank Councilor Cox, McCarthy, and Pett for bringing this forward. This is something we have to do to make ourselves ready for the upcoming events. So with that being said, do we have a motion?
Yes, sir. Ordinance Administration would like to recommend to the City Council amend the Gloucester Code of Ordinances, Chapter 22, Section 22-265, turning movements generally, Section 22-159, same between certain hours on certain days, and Section 22-270, parking prohibited at all times, and Section 22-283, bus stops and taxis, in reference to Pleasant Street and Smith Street, and I so move.
Second.
All right, and this will be done by roll call. And we'll start with Councilor Blank,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan. Yes, thank you everybody for your efforts.
Folks, I'd like just to thank Councilor Cox for helping us move this forward, as well as Councilor McCarthy and Councilor Pett. Just want to give you a quick update. We're sending out a notice later this week to the neighbors just to let them know that we're arriving, and the school will be opening, in about a month or so. And we've also let them know that we'll give them further updates on traffic and parking as this proceeds. So we're reaching out to them now. And then also just want to thank Councilor McCarthy. I appreciate your comments there, and we'll make sure that there'll likely be more walkers here because it's just a veterans neighborhood. We hope that'll lower any cars, obviously, but we'll keep an eye on and want to assure the counselors that we'll have it fully staffed, both for kids boarding the bus, but also kids who are walking, helping them across the street, but also any cars that do pick up as well. So appreciate your support with this, and thank you for helping us move it forward.
Thank you, Ben.
I just want to add something too, that we did meet Ben, Principal Fosco.
Yep.
Did I say that right?
Yep, and Adam Mayo, our director.
And Adam Mayo, the transportation manager. We met on a beautiful rainy July Friday morning. If you believe it, it was raining. And we walked through and, we went and sat at the corner in question for a while. And we're really going to have to rely on the police to do a lot of enforcement in the months coming up to the start of school. There were, 20 violations at least, with nobody stopping at the stop sign. And, we're going to have to put somebody there for crosswalk management, as well as the parking restrictions for the intersection for the bus to get through. But I think we had a really good meeting, and I look forward to working with this group. We're going to do a trial run on the bus at some point in August, just to make sure that we have all the corners covered in regards to what the bus can clear and how far we need to move the regulation. So if there's an emergency order put forward for further restrictions other than the intersection in the 10 feet, then it'll have to be done as an emergency order. So
We call those stoptional signs, Melissa, where they don't stop.
my sister taught me how to drive, and she told me the ones with the white borders were optional. Boy, was my mom unhappy.
And before we move on, Sean, we do have Melissa Texera Prince on the school committee. She is on the call also. I just wanted to recognize her.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you so much for getting us out of the way. I appreciate it.
No
I have
problem.
another meeting at 7 o'clock. So again, thank you, Councilor Nolan. So,
Thank you, Councilor Cox,
all right.
Councilor McCarthy, and Councilor Pat. Have a great night.
Yeah.
So we're going to
Okay.
move on to our reappointments. And tonight we will start off with the Economic Development Industrial Corp. Term to expire 7/1/24, Thomas Belf. Tom, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? And we all know you, but just give us a little rundown of where we are. And also, have you been brought up to date with your oath and your civic.
So this would be, I guess, my second term on the EDIC. I don't, must have been a two-year appointment. I'm not sure, but so I've been on for the last few years, and we have, I think, successfully, invigorated the EDIC a bit. We've done a number of things to, sort of look at expanding both improving our knowledge of who's in the industrial parks, what their needs are, and try to assist as we have any authority or responsibility to do that. And I've been particularly involved as a member of the EDIC in participating in the North Shore Blue Economy study that should be soon released, and also as a participant, as a member of the Municipal Harbor Planning Committee, and looking at what role or responsibility the EDIC could play in the further development of the harbor or the harbor economy more generally. I think it's been an interesting couple of years in the sense that a number of new representatives were added, me included. And I think it's a work in progress to figure out what the role of the EDIC could be beyond the development of the industrial parks. That was an extraordinary accomplishment by the EDIC, but we are limited by statute to sort of improving manufacturing and industrial activities, and looking at revitalizing sort of vacant economic areas and adding to employment. And we still sort of continue to try to determine what our roles and responsibilities could be meaningfully to that end towards Gloucester economy and adding jobs and attracting employers here. So I would look forward to a reappointment to continue that role and seeing how best the EDIC can fulfill that economic development activity. I should say that I think we've done a successful job in the last few years in building stronger relationships with the city's economic development and community development group, and working collaboratively. I did complete my conflict of interest training last week, although in preparation for this meeting, it occurred to me that I printed out my completion certificate, and Lord, if I can find whether it printed out successfully or not. I hope that's not the only record that I completed that most engaging training. So I am up to date with my conflict of interest training, and I look forward to serving in this capacity in the next couple of years if you would recommend me.
Thank you, John. Do we have any councilor comments or questions? And I'll start with Councilor LeBlanc.
Tom, I think if you go back to your email, there should be a record of you completing this.
Okay.
Yeah, and Joanne, does he have to get sworn in again, or is being sworn in from last term can carry over?
No, it's a new term, so he has to get re-sworn in.
That's what I thought. I was just making sure. So at some point, Tom, if you want to go down to see the clerk's office, they'll swear you in before next Tuesday's meeting.
Okay, so this week, in other words.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're open late Thursday night till 6:30, so if that helps.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor O'Hara.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for your energy and your desire to continue to help the city. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tom. You have my support, and I'll give a little bit more of a comment after we get done with Taylor. So do we have a motion?
We do. Ordinance Administration would like to recommend to the City Council that we appoint Thomas Balfe to the Economic Development and Industrial Corporation, term to expire at 7/1/24, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, we've been moved and seconded, and we'll do it by roll call. Start with Councilor Blank,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
and Councilor Nolan. Yes. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
Our pleasure.
Next, we have, again, Economic Development Industrial Co-op, term to expire 7/1/24, Taylor Hedges. Taylor Hedges, how you doing tonight?
Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. No, I'm good.
You're broken up, Taylor. I don't know if it's just on my end. Is that everybody?
No. Taylor, can you give us a call another line or find a better spot?
Okay. Yeah, I don't,
There you
my,
go.
I think it's everyone. Maybe I'll try to call.
Wherever you were just standing, stand there.
Yeah, I'm going to call in.
All right, we got you right now. Are you stationary?
Yeah, I think yeah, I am. It's just my internet is
You're right
junk
wherever
at my
you were.
house, so I had to go and use my phone.
There you go. Wherever you're at right now, you're perfect.
Okay. Well, as long as you can hear me,
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to go with it. I kind of just rehash what agree with what Tom said is we're getting some things done at EDIC, and I'd like to continue my term if you guys will have me.
Cool. Conflict of interest and ethics test all set. I mean, being sworn in, Taylor?
I didn't know we had to get re-sworn in, so I'll take care of all that stuff this week.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent. So do we have any questions or comments? And I'll start with Councilor Blank.
Just thanks again, Taylor. You're doing a great job and keep up the good work, pal.
All right, thank you.
Councilor O'Hara.
Likewise. Thank you, Taylor.
All right, thank you.
All right, so I'll say a few things with Tom and Taylor. Being a business that is in a zone with the EDIC for 17 years now, we've never seen the response from this committee like we have in the past 4 years. Their interest in what's going on and how they can help and looking for improvements has been second to none. The administration has worked with the EDIC and touched and moved towards development around the city and including the industrial zone on the waterfront. And I couldn't be more happier with what they've done and how far they've gotten. It's only been a few years. So I'll definitely be supporting both of these people. Obviously, we already did one tonight, and Taylor.
That's awesome, Sean. It's good to hear from somebody that sees it firsthand.
They have been working very, very hard.
That's cool.
They make a difference. So do we have a motion?
We do. Ordinance Administration would like to recommend to the City Council to appoint Taylor Hedges to the Economic Development Industrial Corporation, term to expire 7/1/24, and I so move.
Second.
And this will be by roll call vote, and I'll start with Councilor Blank.
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. So the vote passed, 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
Next up, we have Special City Council 2021-09 Holgram requests the O&A committee review the Human Rights Commission's proposed amendments for the 2020 City Council Civility Resolution, continued from 6/14/21. Councilor Holgram.
Thank you, Chair Nolan. Thank you, councilors. I approached the Human Rights Commission and asked them to examine this document, which was originally created and signed by the City Council in 2017 in light of increasing racially motivated crimes in the country. And unfortunately, today, I don't know if you heard or saw, but we had some pretty terrible racist, hateful graffiti on the Gloucester Crossing property. So there is a need for this document. I felt it was very important for our reinstated Human Rights Commission to review it and to make sure that the City Council is signing a living document in solidarity with our more vulnerable citizens and intolerance for hate. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilor Holgram. Is there
Thank
any council questions? And I'll start with Councilor LeBlanc.
No, I don't have any. Jen, thank you for bringing this forward and fine tuning this for today's standards, basically, you know.
Thank you very much. It was all the Human Rights Commission. They took that document and
Mhm.
ran with it. They are absolutely marvelous. I'm so grateful we have them.
Councilor O'Hara.
Yeah, thank you, Council Holgram. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
And I'm sure it'll change again eventually. It'll be a never-ending document that will need to be updated and revisited, and so, but it's a good base to start from. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you're all willing to look at it.
Council Holgram and the Human Rights Commission, I want to thank you all for the hard work. I do want to put that out too, that what happened today is something that will be thoroughly investigated. We do have a great police department in our city. And I think all we're doing is giving them another tool to rely on, that we support our police department and we support our community. And I think this is a great movement that we keep working forward, and it's a work in progress. Do we have a motion?
We do. I have one quick question for Joanne, though, before I read this.
Yes.
Should I read what we're striking, or should I just read it as is with the new document that we're going to be provided?
I think you should read it what you're striking, because
Also.
not everybody
Okay.
has this document.
Yeah.
So
So
I think you should really,
So I'll read the
Say what-
document and strike what we're reading, and then keep. All right, I'll be able to decipher what we're going to keep. I got it. I mean, I know it's all. I'll be able to decipher for the audience or whoever wants to look at it. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, I'll entertain a motion here. Well, I'll read the motion. Ordinance and Administration would like to recommend to the City Council to adopt the Human Rights Commission's proposed amendment to the 2020 City Council Civility Resolution by striking, whereas on the 28th day of January 2020, whereas Gloucester is a special place because we have a long history of community, and keeping number one, whereas the Gloucester community is a unique and special one with a long history, we recognize the need to work towards an inclusive and equitable community. Number two, whereas in collaboration with the mayor and city administration, the City Council and the City Council is proud to continue our community spirit by honoring our commitments to, by striking respectfulness, equality, non-discrimination, and keeping all of our people safe, period. And then we're going to keep inclusivity, equity, and safety for all in our community, especially those who have historically been discriminated against, ignored, and marginalized. Number three, whereas any acts of violence, discrimination, or harassment do not reflect the values of the Gloucester community and will not be tolerated. We are committed to examining ourselves, our community, and extraditing any instances of tolerance, eradicating, I'm sorry. Number four, whereas the Gloucester Police Department and we're going to strike, has been instructed by our city administration, and we're going to keep, is committed to, and we're going to strike the word take and add taking all allegations seriously, and will work diligently to investigate any claims of discrimination. We're going to strike, whereas if you fear for your immediate safety, call the Gloucester Police Department via 911 or 978-283-1212. Therefore, the undersigned agreed to the tenants laid forth in this document, and I so move.
Second.
All right, so this is gonna be roll call vote, and we'll start with Councilor Blank,
Absolutely, yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes, great work. So the motion passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you,
Thank you
Jen.
all so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Jen.
very, very much, all of you.
So we are now gonna move on to number 3.
So I'd like to, Sean, I'd like to continue this. I'm gonna get some language from Chip, or not some language. I'm gonna get an update from Chip as to where we are, because I know there are a lot of dates that have been thrown around. So I want to continue this just to the next meeting to see what the dates are. So there's no need to read all this. So Joanna, if we can just continue this to the next O&A meeting, please.
Which would be August 2nd.
Perfect.
All right, so we're gonna continue this to August 2nd. Is there any problems with that, or anybody have any issues? Perfect. All righty, so next we're gonna move on to number 4, which is that Mamhard order the city council consider adopting pilot changes to 2019 beach and stage 4 regulations regarding regulations relating to surfing at Good Harbor Beach, continued from 6/14/21. This motion is being asked to be withdrawn without prejudice. Would someone like to read the motion?
Before we read the motion, I'd like just to give it a little bit of background as to why it's being withdrawn. So we had reached out to our city solicitor, and we found out that even if we do create this ordinance to allow this to happen, that it can be overruled by the administration and our DPW director, just because we put it in there. The DPW director ultimately makes the call on the beaches. And last time he was here, he basically told us it was a safety issue for the people on the beach, the lifeguards, and the surfers. But ultimately, it comes down to him regardless of whether we do draft an ordinance for this. So Councilor Memhard has asked to withdraw this. So I will read the motion. Ordinance Administration like to recommend to the City Council to withdraw Council Order 2021-012 without prejudice.
Do we have a second?
Oh, and I so move. Sorry about that.
Second.
All righty, and this will be done by roll call. We'll start with Councilor Blank,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes. So now we'll move on to.
Can I just say something through the chair?
Yes.
Okay, when you withdraw this council order, it doesn't have to go up to city council.
Okay.
You just withdraw it at O&A.
Perfect.
So it's just the committee accepting the withdrawals.
Should we amend the motion? Because I said, I'm just so used to recommending the City Council. Should we?
Yeah, you probably should amend it. It's just, to have the ordinance administration to accept the withdrawal without prejudice.
All right. So I would make a motion to amend, even though we already voted on it, we can still amend it.
Well, you can probably rescind your vote.
Okay.
Okay, you can rescind your vote and then revote it.
All right.
You
I'd
can
like
just
to-
rescind the vote you just took in
All right.
regard to recommend to the city council.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's clean the way we do
yeah.
it. So I'll make a motion to rescind the motion and the vote that we just took, and I so move.
Second.
And we'll do this by roll call. This is to rescind our last vote. And we'll start with Councilor Blank,
Yes.
Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Nolan, yes.
Okay. And I will make a proper motion. Ordinance and Administration would like to withdraw Council Order 21-012 Memhard without, Council Memhard without prejudice. And I so move.
Second,
And this will be by roll call. Council Blank,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
yes.
Council Nolan, yes. So the motion to withdraw passes 3 in favor, 0 opposed. If I'm reading this correctly, we have met the end of our meeting.
We got one more. We got item number 5, the city charter.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So item number 5, Council Blank requests to review the city charter per section 10(1)B, continued from 6/14. And we're gonna go to Council Blank.
Joanne, do we have any volunteers?
No,
All right,
I
so-
haven't heard from anyone.
All right, so at this point, I think O&A should roll up their sleeves and take a stab at this. It's not to review the city charter, it's just to kind of tweak minor phrases and words where like he, she, this is what they did last time. So we can't really change the meat and potatoes part of the city charter, but we can revise it to meet today's standards. Just like Councilor Holmgren just did earlier. It's an ever-changing document where things are going to have to, and this is every 10 years. So I think if Joanne sends out, I know we all have the city charter, or we can go on the website. Maybe Joanne sends it out too. And this is just me. I don't mind rolling up my sleeves and taking a stab at it and going through it and kind of highlighting things that need to be removed or verbiage that needs to be changed. So, and it's up to you guys. If we want to put this out, try to get volunteers, we can try that. We're already at the end of July, just about. We were supposed to do this last year with COVID and everything. My recommendation is that at least we should get it done by the end of this year.
So we definitely should. The only person I heard from was Jen Beloff, who was interested in help with this.
Mhm.
The other one was Tony Gross. I don't know if he's still going to be interested.
Yeah, I think Tony's going to have his hands full.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do know we have Jen Beloff. I mean, I'd like to have a few more people, but maybe we should revisit this again in 2 weeks. If not, I'm all for our committee to tear into
Yeah.
this.
I mean, it shouldn't take that much. If we all get the copy and just kind of scroll through it and just find strange things that are in there, like we have a woman as mayor. I'm sure there's a lot in there from 10 years ago where it says he, so that would be something we need to strike and kind of put things in there. So and we'll always be able to run it through legal first before we vote on anything.
Through the chair, Chris Sitaganza had his hand up, so I didn't know if he wanted to speak on this, if he had any volunteers.
Go ahead, Chris. I didn't see your hand.
No, it's quite all right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Yes, we didn't have a lot of success with regard to getting people to do the meat and potatoes. To Councilor LeBlanc's point, we did get people who were originally interested. They have since pulled papers for their own council races. So I think to Councilor LeBlanc's point, I think it was a path of kind of two different ideas here. One, the cleanup side, and then two, our true charter commission. There's a volunteer effort that was enacted actually last time around with myself and a few other citizens, but that didn't really get off the ground just because, as we're talking about here, I think people, not just with COVID, but with the time commitments, that they didn't quite understand how much work it would be. So everything from changing, how many terms different roles have, different elected officials. But to, again, Councilor LeBlanc's point, there are tangible, realistic things we can go for, including the appropriate pronouns, including the appropriate cleaning up of language. And I think that's a lot easier of an ask. There are other people that I think once we reframe and maybe have a singular memo between the council and the mayor's office and the clerk's office about what specifically we're looking for, I think we'll get more of an effort. I just think there was a little bit of a jumbled message about what people thought this was going to be versus what the expectations were for the short term and the long. So I just wanted to explain that We did put a little bit of a outreach out there with people that did try this before. It kind of in the last month kind of didn't get the right steam. But I just wanted to offer once again, as always, the administration and the mayor's office, however which way we could be helpful on this, we're here for you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. So I guess we need to continue this and find out if we're going to set a date where we're going to work on this totally, or if we're going to reach out to people further. So I think the safe bet would be, Joanne, if we could put this on to the next meeting.
Okay.
Joanne, can you do me a favor too? Can you what's the process of sending the charter to O&A?
Okay. So I have a Word document, okay, which was
It's the most up-to-date one?
not yet. I'm still waiting. Last year, there was a special act for people to serve on multi boards.
Right.
And I believe the governor signed it, but I've never received a copy of the signed bill. So I can't update the charter with that on that section until I get that to see what the language is.
So
And
would that be the only addition?
I believe that would be the only addition.
Or
Where we changed the charter. I'll have to go back and look. I do have a Word copy of the charter that I sent to the state with our last update, but I'm waiting for this other update because every time we update, I have to send it to the state archives.
Right.
So they could have it on file. So I can check with that. And then after I can see if I can reach out to the state or maybe Senator Tarr's office or maybe general counsel to see if I can get a copy of the bill that the governor signed in regard to changing the charter. So for people to serve on multi boards, commissions, and committees. That was passed last year. And it was very difficult to get a signed copy of a special act last year because of COVID. So hopefully, I'm hoping that I can, somebody might give it to me right away and I can update that. So I can either do PDF or I can do the Word document. We just have to remember that the Word document, if you change anything with any strikeouts, I do have the strikeouts that we had before, and I do have a clean copy. If we start striking out things, we got to make sure we're just dealing with one copy.
Right, okay. Why don't you send it as a PDF and then we can kind of, we'll have it in front of us, and if we're sitting around one night, we can probably scroll through it and write down sections. Because that's probably what I'll do is I'll go through it, in section whatever, so to speak. I'll, paragraph 2, sentence, whatever, I'll be able to kind of go through it at that point. And then maybe at the end, we can collaborate on all this and get something together. Send it to legal or send it to the administration, whoever that we need to send it to. They can clean it up and we'll be able to maybe vote on something, hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah, it usually goes through the legal department.
Yeah. So whatever you got for I think a PDF would be fine. That way we're not all striking things and adding things or whatnot. We can probably just do that on a sketch pad or whatever. So what I do is, so this is for Jamie and Sean, and I can show you guys how to do it if you need me to. Is if you get the PDF and you open it up in what's it, Adobe, you can take your iPad and circle things so you're not sketching things down. So like this. So I have my iPad here, and if I open this in the Adobe program, like I can circle this word right here. So now I know we're gonna strike that word. So I'll be happy to swing by the shop, Sean, once she gives that to us. And Jamie, I'll meet up with you at some point and show you how to open it up in the other program. And that way it makes it so much easier than trying to get a sketch pad and writing words down. So that way, when you open the document, you can just scroll through the whole charter and you can see where you scribbled on the actual charter that Joanne sent us, but in a different program. So I can help you with that, guys. That'd probably be the easiest way.
Excellent. I actually know how to do that, but
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, Jamie, if you need a hand, let me know, but I'll take care of you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so after that, do we have a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn, so moved.
Excellent.
Second.
Council LeBlanc,
Yes.
Council O'Hara,
Yes.
Council Nolan, yes. Everybody have a great night and thank you.
Night.
Right.